I mean, you've been studying this for years. I mean, is there any emerging theory? Negotiated settlements, the Post talked about that earlier in the week. Negotiated settlements that started last year at the village level and then went to the district and province level. Any emerging theories?
As the chairman said, after action reviews will happen at the appropriate time, and you know, that guidance has been given. And I would tell you at the operations level, that focus is just like President, laser focused on the current flights of the current mission right now. Thank you.
Joe, can I ask one quick thing about Taliban communications?
Sure.
Do you get a sense there's a strict command structure? Or there's a sense there's various Taliban militias around the city that if you talk to one Taliban leader, these guys in these militias going to say, well, I'm not going to listen, I'm going to do my own thing, not letting people through. Can you talk about that, and is it a problem?
I can't personally give you that level of detail you want, but what I do know, which I think is a positive, is there's constant communication, and it's being received, right? And we're seeing that things that we are asking for, passage and that, is happening and getting better.
Yeah, Jared?
Yeah. So for the time being, up until now, have all U.S. flights from the Kabul airport gone to Qatar? And a follow-up, now with planes going to Ramstein, how many other nations have offered to house Afghan evacuees, and of those, which are the most viable? And lastly, are you looking for foreign facilities, or is it exclusively American facilities like Ramstein in these foreign countries that you're looking at?
Qatar has been the first way station for the evacuation flights that we've been conducting, and I, you know, because we've been doing it so consistently, that's one of the reasons we reached capacity there as quickly as we did. We are grateful for other countries who have already agreed to accept additional numbers, and we're working out the details of that with them right now. I'll let those countries speak to their contributions and the State Department. But from a military perspective, we are in need of additional capacity, and we're grateful that other countries are going to be helping us out with that capacity, even if it is obviously on a temporary basis, but to help us with the throughput, because we saw what happened today when that was the limiting factor. It wasn't aircraft on the ground, it wasn't people queued up and manifested, it was a destination, and so it's good to have that freed up right now. And as I think I answered, I think it was Jen's question, obviously a large portion of these individuals will come to the United States, and we've got 3 military bases now set to receive them: Fort Lee, Fort McCoy, and Fort Bliss. And the capacity at those 3 bases, we want to get up to 22,000 capacity. We're not there yet, understandably, but we're building out to that. And as the Secretary has made clear to the Department, that if we need to offer additional U.S. installations here in the continental United States, we'll do that. But right now, we think we can get up to 22,000 in relatively short order here over the next coming days and weeks, and we'll see where that goes.
But aside from SIVs, so let's say the P2s or other Afghans who are at risk, would you look at, say, foreign installations like maybe Aviano Air Base in Italy, or other U.S. bases in continental Europe?
That's really a better question put to the State Department that runs that part of the immigration process. That really wouldn't be our call to make.
Understood.
Yeah, Gordon.
John, does the Secretary currently possess the authorities he needs to call up more forces if needed? Or does he have to ask the White House for sign-off?
If he was going to make a major muscle movement in terms of additional forces of a significant size, he would absolutely want to have that conversation with the Commander-in-Chief.
Sure, but I mean, given that the possibility that there a major muscle movement may occur in the future, has that like pre-authority in effect already been provided?
I'm not going to get into the planning process, Gordon, but we feel like with the additional capacity that we have, that should there be a need to expand the mission in any way, that we have what we require. And if that would change, if it would require a change, you can bet that General McKenzie would flow up his recommendations, the Secretary would review them, as would the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and we'd go from there. Yeah.
Just following up on that, have any more forces been put on ready to deploy orders?
No.
No. And then How long was the airfield closed for? Was it 6 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours?
Yeah, it was roughly 6 to 7.5 hours right in there.
And then during that time, what was happening? Were you trying to get other countries to accept the not refugees, the evacuees, or what was happening in that?
So first of all, on the airfield, processing kept continuing. So when we say really what's happening, just flights were paused to, I think like I said earlier, to allow for backlog, to ensure reception of folks leaving Kabul. So we were scheduling other flights and ensuring that we could get those flights out first as we brought other flights in.
Can I just ask one, since that pause has restarted in that 6 to 7 hours, how many flights have gone out since then?
So before I left, right before I came in here, we'd had 3 leave Qatar and 1 left Kabul and 1 was getting ready to take off from Kabul.
So since the pause and the restart, 1 has left, and
That's right.
potentially a second?
Potentially second, yeah.
Can I follow up on that, sir, very quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it accurate and correct that the backlog at that time on the airfield of Afghans that couldn't board planes because they couldn't land them anywhere, was that backlog about 10,000 people? Or more?
Less than. I don't have the exact number, sorry about that, but it was less than that.
Less than 10?
Yeah, I
But
think,
in the thousands?
right.
So at that time, since they were there for 7.5, maybe as much as 8 hours, was there sufficient food, water, and sanitation? Are they sleeping outside on the airfield? How is all that
Reports are
working?
that it was sufficient, but we are actively continue to ensure it is sufficient for the future and continuing as we build out even more.
Did they, the people who were stuck there for so long, did they have food, water, and sanitation?
Yes, and I have no report that they didn't.
Thank you.
General Taylor, I
Yes, ma'am.
just want to follow up on the 169 Americans who were rescued. Was that an incident where a commander took a decision and left the wire to help those people? Were weapons drawn, or did that commander ask for a higher-up authority to leave the wire?
Yeah, I'm going to absolutely get more. But, you know, as you look about the gate and where they are, you already see that, you know, soldiers that are out there are starting now to increase that capability, that security around the gate. But the specific details of that I don't have. But as Mr. Kirby said, I'm going to get.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out, because we've been told there have been no hostile interactions with the Taliban, but if the Taliban were stopping those Americans from getting to the gate and a U.S. service member had to go to rescue them, was it a tense situation where weapons drawn?
Sure.
That would count as
Can
a
understand the
hostile
question.
interaction.
Yeah, we'll have to get you more information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tom. Me or Jim? Tom.
Paul.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right.
Guys,
Brothers, Tom.
masks are killing me.
2 questions. One, if you've restarted the flights to from Kabul, the people we hear from inside Qatar say that the wait is 3 to 5 days to get out of there. It's so backed up. Where are you flying these people to? Are you already flying them to another country?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, that constraint of ensuring we have other flights scheduled and the timing of those, that's already being worked and increasing our throughput throughout the entire chain requirements of flights. And so flights that left, as Mr. Kirby said, some of those were going in and planned for the United States.
When you say flights that left
Yeah,
Qatar
Qatar.
to the U.S., so you're saying right now you're at a pace where the incoming and the outgoing from in Qatar is more, there's some equilibrium?
Getting there.
Okay. Are they flying to other countries yet, other ISBs?
I don't have that report, those flight plans yet. I mean, that's very, you know, an extremely dynamic piece, but I don't have those flight schedules as of right now.
Okay, and a follow-up. We've seen videos of babies being hefted over the barbed wire and walls and U.S. servicemen taking them on. Can you tell us what's going on? Are these babies of families who have visas, have U.S. passports? Are they Afghans? Are they people with credentials?
So
What's
we do
happening
know-
to their
I have the
families?
details.
Okay, yeah.
The video you're talking about, the parent asked the Marines to look after the baby because the baby was ill. And so the Marine you see reaching it over the wall took it to a Norwegian hospital that's at the airport. They treated the child and returned the child to the child's father.
Was there only one?
I'm only aware of the one incident.
Okay.
But it was an act of compassion because there was concern about the
Are they going to
babies.
be brought out, the
I don't
father,
know
or
that-
were they put back outside the airport?
I don't know, Jen. The baby was returned to its father. I don't know I don't know where they are now. We don't, I mean, obviously we have a responsibility to return a child to the child's parent. And I don't know who the parent is and whether whether they're an SIV applicant or I don't have that level of detail. But I think this was a very humane act of compassion by the Marines, and it's exactly the kind of skill and professionalism the General talked about. I already got you. Go ahead.
I have a question for the General. Sir, I was wondering if, now that the airport is secure, if you could take us back to the breach that occurred on Monday.
Okay.
What's the latest assessment of how that occurred? What forces were in the area of that part of the airport at the time, and what was the interaction there?
As we know early on, as we built combat power, and in that early stages, it was very dynamic. We assessed after that happened, and obviously reinforced, and throughout those days have ensured that the 360-degree perimeter is. I don't have the tactical AAR. That was not a requirement to pass that up to the Joint Staff. But what I do know is that that was quickly fixed, and the commanders there were able to use the assets they had immediately. And then as we built more combat power to ensure that hasn't happened since then.
Was there any interaction with the Taliban ongoing on this?
Always. I mean, like I said earlier, that communication at that level is continuous and happening.
Okay, we've got time for just one more, and I haven't taken hardly any from the phones. Therese.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Going back to the children that were being passed over the wall, is there going to be any, I guess, regulation stating that this should not be happening, to kind of regulate that parents aren't taking their children and trying to pass them off to get them inside the gate?
I know of no such effort to do that, Therese. Again, these are U.S. servicemen and women deployed in a still dangerous and difficult mission. And I think what you saw there is the same thing that you saw when that Air Force jet packed to capacity with people wanting to get out. They're doing the best they can to be as compassionate as they can. And again, the baby was not harmed. It was treated for whatever the illness was and returned to the father. And I think you're seeing, again, these men and women, incredibly brave, doing the best they can to be as compassionate as they can. And I think you're going to continue to see that kind of compassion going forward. Okay, guys, we got to get going. Thank you very much.